Hello and welcome back to Shock's Talks. I'm Shakti and today we're going to talk about energy work. On next week's episode, I'm going to be talking about the novel that I'm finishing up right now, and that's The Secret of Secrets by Dan Brown. And this book is about Psi in a really interesting way. It's a fun adventure that gets into remote viewing and other psychic abilities and secret research into these things and the link between epileptics and the ability to leave the body, astral travel, occult history, and consciousness studies. It's really fun. It's something I picked up on my vacation, and it was really fun as a vacation read. Now I'm a little bit bored with it, but I'm going to finish it anyway. And I do look forward to discussing the research that went into this story and some of the cool points of the story that I think are relevant to the real life story of what's going on with consciousness and the paranormal or the supernatural. And by supernatural, I mean totally natural to us all. So recently I was listening to Dr. Kuyawa, Joanna Kuyawa. She was on the Dana Kippel show, and she said something about how aliens can't save us. We have to do the inner work ourselves. And this may sound like really obvious to a lot of people, but I think it's really important because as you look into psi phenomena, and especially communication and connection with non-human entities, there are often stories of these entities sharing wisdom, sharing relevant information that can help us in our physical matter reality, but also giving us warnings, trying to teach us and guide us, and a lot of times we're just not listening. So I think what this doctor is saying is that there is no scenario in which someone comes down and swoops in and makes everything better. In order to find that holistic healing and that new level of reality that we are all co-creating that feels so much better than the one we're currently in, we all have to start with our own individual inner work. It's the unglamorous truth, but it's the most exciting thing to me because the thing I do have control over is my own inner world. And I know that sometimes it feels like we don't, because even I've had that multiple times throughout the last week where I felt like I knew what I needed to do energetically, but I just couldn't do it. I was completely triggered. I was completely at the mercy of my past, my PTSD, my somatic response, my hormones, the moment in time that we're living through, and so many other factors. And other times I'm better equipped to shift my own energy, but what has allowed me to move forward and make progress in terms of harnessing and controlling my own energy is a commitment to the work. And the work is whatever you want it to be. But for me, it's a series of different activities and exercises that I'm using to develop my psi and also just to become more contained and more in control of the things that I can control for the purpose of good, for the purpose of love, for the purpose of being more compassionate, being more empathetic, being more clear-headed. What I've learned is that even in the moment when I feel completely self-righteous and I want to just really lay into someone and make their life miserable for a few little measly seconds, if I do that, there's often regret. There's often a feeling of like, oh no, I just inflamed this and made it even worse. Now I have someone who wants to retaliate against me. I've exhausted myself. I've kind of hurt myself in a weird way, created some little leaks in my own energy field. And if I can just take those 10 deep breaths and hold it together and find a way to honor my emotions and process what's happening and think about the right logical response, but also what is in alignment with my goals and what is in alignment with what I need to happen, usually I feel a lot better and I feel really proud of myself once I make it through one of those scenarios. And it's been a challenging past week, like I said. But I really value the practices that I have. And one of them is this energy workshop that I've been going to for probably maybe over a year now. And it's very small and I really enjoy it. We do it remotely. And there are different teachers, but today I got the pleasure of working with Minero. And I'll link the episode at the end of this one, but I did an episode of Shock's Talks on his book, Demystifying the Out-of-Body Experience. And if anybody hasn't read that book and you're interested in Psi, I really recommend it. I think there are certain works that are just so valuable, and there's a handful of them that are my go-tos, and you'll hear me talking about them all the time. Obviously, Tom Campbell's one of those. His theory of everything, I find it really useful. I find the practical applications really meaningful. And I feel the exact same way about the work of Luis Minero. And lately I've been noticing an increase in my psi abilities. I have to go back after this episode and work on my psychic journal because, as I've mentioned before, if you write down synchronicities, if you write down a little premonition that came true, or talk about it with a friend, or just make a note of it, it helps you to see that that's happening more. Just like when you write your dreams, you start remembering them more. I've noticed that this works with Psi. And so recognizing your wins. Even when I go and practice remote viewing on socialrv.com, there's a part of my mind, without fail, that always wants to critique really hardcore whatever I'm doing there. It wants to tear me to shreds. It wants to be mean, but it also wants to shut it down because it's comfortable with things the way they are. And as you break out of your shell of normalness and you start moving into your psi abilities, you're going to be met with that side of your personality. And there's no point in battling it necessarily, but I think there is a point in redirecting it and saying, you know what? Here's the task. I'm going to give you a game, okay? Little critic of my mind, little meanie, whatever its name is. I have a job for you since you're so eager to help and you're so eager to do some work. I want you to look at my session and I want you to put a check mark next to anything and everything that does correspond with the target. And once I started doing that practice, I realized that I'm doing way better than I thought. And the more I encourage myself, the more I can blossom into my ability. I don't know about you because we're all different, but for me, I do not respond well to being shut down, to kind of that energy of someone cracking the whip on me. Not only does it hurt me and make me sad, but it enrages me and it makes me rebellious and it makes me go in the opposite direction of where I'm wanting to go. So I want to break that habit in myself and I want to replace it with this loving, grounded, realistic encouragement. Because again, it's not real good encouragement if it's all fluff. Like if I was blowing smoke up my own ass and telling myself, you're doing amazing when you're not, that's not helpful either. But there's a middle ground, which is kind and clear and gentle and to the point. And it includes noticing your wins, writing down those synchronicities, writing down, what you got right in a session or why that dream was significant or how that meditation started yielding a little bit more visualization. I'm the kind of person who has wondered, and this is so cheesy because of the band name, but I'm like, is my third eye blind? I'm like, am I third eye blind? Because I get a lot of sensations, but I'm not visualizing a lot in my mind's eye. But then I had to remind myself, you do it every night when you dream. And if you ever remember a dream, you know what it's like. It's fully visual. You're seeing things and all the other whatever senses you might have in there. So what I've started doing is in my out-of-body practice, when I'm laying in bed, meditating before a nap or before bed, I'm just playing with that little edge before sleep. And it's a dangerous little game because you can slip into sleep if you're really tired. But if you're not tired enough, you never get to that little weird in-between place. So I like to wait till I'm tired and then play this little game. And this week I did this a couple times and I started to see these little visualizations just popping up in my mind's eye. And then I would just kind of make a mental note of it. Nothing significant. I wasn't trying to view anything in specific. I was just letting impressions come. And then I was noticing and practicing remembering what they were. And today I couldn't tell you what half of them were, but a few of them stuck out in my mind because the witness was making mental notes, So there's a lot of fun stuff we can be doing, but I do think that the most important thing is to find where your interest is and follow that passion, and it'll probably open doors to other practices and psi abilities. Okay, I had to reset my camera because I ran out of storage space, so the recording stopped. But anyway, I just wanted to wrap up by saying that next week we're going to be going back into looking at a fictional story in order to examine the psi phenomena from a more imaginative angle, just to kind of loosen up our grip on needing to understand what's real and what's not real, and just enjoying the content of a good story, and then considering how that relates to the research that we've been doing and the knowledge we have of consciousness and psi. And that story is Secret of Secrets by Dan Brown, and it was just a silly little vacation read. Now that I'm home, I have to admit it's not holding my attention as well, but I am going to finish it. I'm almost done. And it is pretty cool. It's pretty fun just to see a story that relates so much to all the things I'm interested in, and to have that kind of dramatized for our consideration. So next week we'll be talking about that. I also keep thinking about Dawn by Octavia Butler, and I feel like I'm going to have to read the rest of the series because I need to know what happens next. It's just such a great exploration of what it might be like to integrate into an alien society. Aliens who have taken humans off the earth after a nuclear destruction and saved them and then brought them back, but for a price. They want to exchange genetic information, and they want to basically interbreed and merge the two species. So it's a pretty interesting story if you're at all into the alien lore and the abductee history that exists here for us. And there's a lot going on. I will say that if you want the short clips of all the different news in UAP and UFO happenings, I would follow Psicoactivo with Pavel. He really does a good job of capturing all the different clips. I have to ask him sometime how he gets permission, or if he just does it. It's so tricky on YouTube to know what you can show or not show. I've edited a few videos with clips before, and then I kind of got nervous and deleted them all because if you violate certain guidelines, they can delete your whole account, I guess. So I don't want to lose everything, so I'm trying to move slowly and learn as I go. But he has episodes that are all around 20 minutes or less. Sometimes he'll do a longer interview, and he covers everything that's going on in UAP news. He's connected to everyone. He's a really sweetheart. He is a great journalist, I would say, a YouTube journalist. And he did an interesting episode earlier today or yesterday that was about the Epstein files and how he had been reading through new documents that were released and emails, and how there is some kind of correlation between a lot of these people in power and money and research into psi and anomalous events and time travel. But of course, it's not that big of a surprise that secret societies and people in government and people in organizations that control the world and people who have tons of money and people who are invested in government contractors that feed the military-industrial complex, all of these people are eventually going to find their way to the same place that we are, because while we here are obsessed with knowledge and learning and growth and moving towards a more loving and compassionate future for all, the same is true of the other side of the coin. Those who seek more power are going to find psi. They're going to find the anomalous. And that's just undeniable. So there's an intersection here, and we're all approaching it. And it was interesting to hear some of his comments on that. And then one of the next books on my list is going to be the Alien Goddess book by Dr. Joanna Kuyawa. And she's the one that said at the beginning of this episode, like I quoted, aliens can't save us. We have to do the inner work ourselves. So this week I will be focusing on my own inner work. I wish you well with yours. I'll be reading, I'll be working, I'll be enjoying my sweet cats, and I will be doing everything in my ability to send love and healing out to the world, to those in need, to send courage and support to those who are being wronged and held in captivity and harmed, and to those who are suffering as a result of their own inner demons. I want healing and love for all. So that's what I'll be thinking about, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Shocks Talks.